Welcome, Fedi Friends, to episode 15 of Fireside Fedi. I'm your host, Ozoned. Fireside Fedi is a show about folks within the Fediverse. If you're seeing this, you are a part of the Fediverse. With me today is Laurens Hof. Laurens runs the Fediverse Report, a curated blog about the Fediverse, Blue Sky, and the networks powering those networks. Laurens is from the Netherlands and cares about an ethical internet. Laurens, welcome. And how would you like to be addressed?
You can just call me Laurens. Like, he, him is fine.
Okay. And you and I were talking about this before we started. How do you pronounce Laurens in how do you pronounce Laurens?
I pronounce it Laurens Hof. Like with the hard Dutch R, like Laurens. But I honestly, I've been introducing myself so many times in English now. Like, Laurens feels like a natural name, so it feels like I have two names in a way. Like, Laurens is my real name.
Yeah, I don't even know if I could pronounce it Laurens Hof. I try, but yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, but like Laurens is my real name.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
we'll just go with that. Well, welcome, Laurens. Thank you so much.
How
did you get to where you're at today?
Long story, but it all started with pretty much everything in the world. Like, it all started with Elon Musk, funnily enough, because that's the world we live in now. I was a Twitter user, and the famous thing, Elon Musk bought Twitter. You had November 2022. This has actually happened. In November 2022, people went from Twitter to Mastodon. You had this big Twitter migration. I was one of those folks, and that's when I found out about Fediverse stuff and Mastodon and ActivityPub, the whole network. And then I realized this actually there's so much more going on than just hey, this is a Twitter alternative. This is actually really fucking awesome, and I got super excited about that. And then it all slightly escalated from there because pretty quickly after I realized hey, yeah, decentralized networks are cool, but the problem with decentralized networks is information is also turns out to be very decentralized. It's there's people building all these platforms and these other softwares, but it's super confusing and hard to find, and where is everything, or how can I find more about that? And it was in first week of January 2023, I decided hey, why not? I'm just gonna write about it. I'm gonna document just simply of hey, what's actually going on? Because it was a very frantic period at that time, so much going on. And it's I just want to write it down. And then I started Fediverse Report with the idea of just start a weekly newsletter. And almost 2.5 years later, this is now, I've been doing this full time for a while now, and doing with consultancy, quit my job a while ago. It's my life now. So
what?
Yep.
Okay, so I have many questions around this. Then, first off, were you a reporter or a blogger before all this? You kind of had a leg up, or you're just I'm just going to jump in and do this?
Yeah, just pure naive optimism of just how hard can this be? Which turns out to be hard, but manageably hard. No, I come from the data analysis world, and I was doing that for so quite different, but
yeah.
It's data analysis. I was doing that for quite a while. It's fun, but not something necessarily that really gets me going.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was actually in 2023 I realized there was over the summer, there was when it was still very much hyped of oh, we're all gonna go to Mastodon, and there was also the moment when the Dutch government announced of oh, we're gonna start a Mastodon server, and that felt yeah, you know what? If Dutch governments say hey, this is a cool technology, we support this, we're gonna transfer this technology, how big can the risk be to try to focus on that hardcore? Turns out pretty big risk, but sometimes you gotta be I was stuck in a job that I wasn't really happy with anyway, so I was no guts, no glory. Yeah. So I did that for the rest of 2023. I tried to make it work, and then didn't really work. Fediverse just didn't catch on. Just sort of stagnated. Yeah. Actually, it slowed down a little bit. And then I got a job part-time with like through the Fediverse actually consultant with Fediversity project. Like they got a big grant from NGI, so I worked for that like part-time, like doing communications and some other like administrative and organizational stuff, and did that for most of 2024. And so like that sort of supported my writing. It was like, oh, this network's probably going to take off, so we'll see where that goes. And the project ended like for me in like late 2024. And I was like, yeah, you know what? This was like right when the Trump election happened, election of Trump happened, and it was also very clear of like, oh, social network, like decentralized social networks, they're taking off. Like this is where it's happening.
Yeah.
And that was at that point more actually on the Blue Sky side. So it's like, okay, I need to focus on both Fediverse and on Blue Sky in my writing because like
Hmm.
that's just where all the action is. And then like now I'm trying to still like I'm doing another consultancy assignment on the side for like a Mastodon project that sustains me for another while, like while I try to write and like try to see if I can build like the writing into an actual business. Because like making money with writing is just like
Difficult.
optimistic. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
very optimistic. Which so actually I mainly see it as like my writing and it's like just a sort of like visit what's the term for that in English? I don't know. Like just showing off like, hey, hire me for consultancy. I know what I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about. Like
It's like a
I'm the expert.
portfolio.
Yeah, it is a portfolio in a way. And it works like that. Like it's just like waiting to see if the networks can go big enough that like you can do this full time, which maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. It's worth giving a shot. So that's sort of where I am. So like this is sort of how like Fediverse stuff just became my entire life.
That's that's incredible though, because I think a lot of us, I'm a believer that the Fediverse can go big,
Right.
in
Yeah.
that it's not pinned on some VC, venture capitalist investor waiting
Yeah.
to put money in. Oh, it's not gone big and pulls his money out. Like it is all about our passion projects and getting
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
excited and having those conversations. So you said you're doing this full time now. So on your web page, it has you're a writer and a consultant. Are you doing a lot of consulting for the Dutch government or for anyone else?
No. It's currently working on a project for not directly Dutch government agency, SEDN. Like that's the agency that organizes all the .nl domain names, like the country domain names, and they do also with internet subsidies, and they have a subsidy for like Mastodon promotion, and that's what I'm
Oh,
working on
wow.
right now. With like so, trying to create documentation in Dutch to like raise or like get new communities on board as well for like on Mastodon, and like how like more documentation and like figuring out what's already there when it comes to moderation, for example, and how does moderation in localized communities actually work. And that's a lot with like the Mastodon.nl server community. That they're the one who actually got that grant, and that's the one they're hiring me to actually do the work. So that's my part-time job as well now, and part-time writing.
Okay, that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
is that what you're hoping for? Or are you hoping to go even further with it? Like, what is Lauren's big dream for yourself and involved in the Fediverse or not?
Big dream is well, the small dream for now is like, and the big dream is like being able to like make this work on a more sustainable way because like financially, because it's sort of working now, but like it's, like, I'll be real, it's tight. But that's just sort of the nature of the thing of like trying to in like blossoming emerging networks, trying to figure it out how it all works.
Yeah.
But yeah, like big picture, I really like doing the analysis part. Like I want to focus more on that in my writing. Actually, I've been focused very much on like the week to week stuff of like, hey, this is just happening, yada yada, and giving analysis. And I feel at this point, like I have actually a very good idea of like how how these networks actually operate in detail. And I think the details matter actually a lot. and I do have a very good sense of that. So I want to write more of those analysis articles of like, hey, what's actually going on, and how does this work, and why does this work, and why doesn't it work? What are the issues for adoption, for example?
Okay.
And that's sort of the big challenge. Like, can you make that into a money making business? Oh, I don't know. Maybe not. Otherwise, there's always consultancy at this point, so we'll see.
No, and I think that there, again, if we're betting on the right horse here, if
Yeah.
the Fediverse is going to take off, it is going to require capital investments. But the way I look at it is they're not going to shove ads into Mastodon.social. The way they're going to have to do it is just like anyone else, where they have their own instance or they exist on another instance and they interact with the community. But I completely see your point of how do we engage those folks? It's an entire shift in the way the internet works, right? Right now, it is, I go to a website and there are 50 million ads that pop up in my face and they don't really have to do anything, right? Now, we need a way to figure out how do we get people engaged and how do we keep them engaged in our product? And I could see that's where someone like yourself comes in. Is that kind of what you're referring to?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and the problem there is that there's actually the story of like, how do you actually onboard like organizations like onto the Fediverse is like, it's more challenging than it sounds. Like, it's not that difficult to just set up like a Mastodon or go to social server, but like that's sort of the basic. And we actually haven't really fully figured out like what does the next step actually beyond that looks like. Like, we have seen some experimentation with, for example, with government sites as well, but also with like news organizations, and it's sort of, it works, but it's not fully there yet, to be honest. Like, there's a reason why, like, when the EU did their EU voice, like the servers last year, like where the pilot had to scale down, like the first step of like setting up the Mastodon server, that worked, but then the step of like, okay, but who's responsible? Like, how do you figure out the responsibility of a server across multiple agencies? Like, that stuff is actually incredibly well, it's both difficult and it's just like completely unknown terrain at this point. Like, we really have no idea how to do this.
Well, and it's interesting because what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it has less to do with the things that we all kind of are championing, Mastodon, ActivityPub, and more to do with how do us as a humans with our soft skills essentially manage this? Who's in control of our server, right? What do we allow? What do we not allow? That kind of a thing. And governments inherently, due to the size, are going to be slow to iron that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think in general, like the Fediverse is like, it's very far from a finished project. Like, there's like, and I'm not actually like, also on a technical level, there's definitely a lot more to be doing. But the bigger problem by far is like, we actually have by and large not figured out how governance on the Fediverse works yet. And that's actually also very relevant for how if you want bigger organizations to onboard to the Fediverse, like, okay, how are we supposed to interact with other servers? Like, there's clearly more to it than if you're stupid enough, we block you. But like, which like is a start. It's a good start to have. Like, people should definitely feel free to block other servers. But like, this is in the end like federated diplomacy, and that's the part. Yeah, that's the part that honestly really excites me about the Fediverse. Is like, it's a very different mode of thinking, and honestly a very exciting mode of thinking, but also honestly kind of a frustrating thing where it feels like this is by far to me the coolest part about the Fediverse, but it's hard to actually get there, make it happen. Of like, hey, this is a very fundamentally different way of building up from the internet. And I'm not necessarily talking about like the open source stuff, but like that you have different communities trying to relate to each other. And how they are supposed to relate to each other. It's like, we don't know.
Well, and I keep saying this over and over again. This reminds me of the early days of the internet where there was this thing and everyone was just like, well, I just use it for my own personal stuff. And then people were like,
Yeah.
well, how do I actually run something? And I was literally talking to someone earlier about this. Now, to run a go-to social, to run an Owncast even is, get a server, you run one line and it's up and running. But then what do you do with that? What does the rest of that look like? And I was literally earlier today looking into why comments weren't federating to my PeerTube. And it's like there are a lot of things to try and figure out and resolve. And one of the things that we really discount are, again, that softer, non-technical, I love that you said that Fediverse diplomacy look like.
Yeah, we really don't know. And honestly, like that part of like figuring out what that actually looks like is incredibly exciting and frustrating at times, but it's part of it.
Yeah, no, this is, and it's exciting because, like, again, I to folks I've been talking to try and get them interested. I've told them, like, you're getting on the ground floor of what could be a literal world-changing technology.
Yeah.
But there are bugs, there are pain points, some of the software doesn't fully work yet. But if it takes off like I'm expecting it to, and it sounds like you're expecting it to, like, you're going to be able to tell your grandkids, you remember at a time, pre-internet or pre-Fediverse, and it's going to blow their minds. And I'm very excited about helping lay those building blocks down. And like you said, like, I'm not a podcaster. I've never done a blog or any of this stuff. I always stay to myself. And now that I can own my content, I want to give back. And this is the best way to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I do very much relate to that feeling of like, hey, there's a lot of potential here of like, and you are getting in the possibility of like, you can shape the direction of like what the network actually looks like in a very meaningful way. And it feels like that's actually very exciting, but also feels like, comes with a sense of responsibility when how to write about this all. Like it's not just, it's also fun, but it's not just fun. Like it matters.
Well, and it's this thing that most people have never heard of. Like many people, I've talked to them and said, hey, have you heard of the Fediverse? And they're like, no. It's like, have you heard of Mastodon? Or have you heard of PixelFed? And one of the gentlemen that I know is like, oh yeah, I've heard of PixelFed. I don't, do anything with it. And I was like, okay, step one, we're in the door, right? Like we got our foot in. But there's always that part of me is like, am I being too naive? Is this really as big of a thing as I think it is? And then I come back, I'm like, no, I get to talk to people like yourself. I met Laurens Hof from the Netherlands, and I never would have met you before without this technology, and it's amazing.
It is, yeah. But I feel like there's also still a whole lot of ground to cover in the sense that I've been very, very interested in like trying to figure out like what the rest of the internet looks like in 2035. And it's in like, we know there's the big platforms, but like that's also still like mainly from the West perspective. Like I'm also very interested of like, what does the majority world, like what sort of platforms are they actually on? And like, I don't know, what's big in Indonesia, what's big in Brazil, like, and it's all video-based platforms basically at this point. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot like Fediverse is like very old school, like it leans into like the old school of like the people like, oh, we're gonna back to the RSS days, back to the blogging days, back to the old good internet. But like for the majority world, like the new good internet is like short form video but better. And like that's gonna be to me also a very fascinating clash, because like if you want to like get majority people on board, like at this point, like it's gonna be video first, short form mobile video first, and
that's a good point.
That's culturally like gonna be a very big clash with the people who are like currently the dominant group on the Fediverse. Like, they're by and large not the type of people who are watching TikTok right now. Like, I'm sure I'm sure you've seen the comment how people talk about TikTok, and it's definitely not necessarily positive.
Right.
Which, like, I don't blame them, but like at some point, where are the people actually at?
Yeah, no, and I think there's still a significant portion out there that despite who owns it, use Twitter, and they see it as a tool, regardless of who the tool manufacturer is, which is also a giant tool. And they're like, but this is the best way for me to get my voice out, and my voice. I'll I can get on Mastodon and say something, but no one is listening, or my people aren't listening. It's like, okay, but no one's listening because you're not here. Yeah. And there is that balance, but I think that we keep, it is not outside of the Fediverse or other technologies where something happens, you see a massive influx, and then it as you said, it comes down, it stagnates a bit. But I'm hopeful that those like us that are loving this, we're going to be here. We're going to be here to help folks. You're going to write the Fediverse Report. And it's the things like the Fediverse Report, when you announce something new and so many people are seeing it, then they get to spread it to other people. Look at this article. Like, a presence on the internet matters to bring other people into it.
Yeah. People actually absolutely need a focus point for the community to sort of center around, of like, get to know what's happening. And I think like that's sort of, for me, actually the challenge still for the Fediverse is like, this is what I try to do with Fediverse Report. But I read a very interesting analysis like the other day, and by Henry Farrell. He's a great writer, and he said like one of the points like why social networks are so incredibly powerful is that they shape like the common knowledge of what you know, what other people know.
Right.
And like algorithms like are very good at giving you that feeling that you know what other people know, because like you see the post with the big like numbers, and like it's at the same time it's still like the part of the reason why we're in the current state of the world, to put it mildly, is also because like for a large extent like the same algorithms also destroyed like our actual common knowledge. We don't really know what other people are seeing with their algorithms. And like the Fediverse like fixes that partially by like, okay, we're gonna go hardcore with like on your like you get control over your own content, you get control over your timeline. But it's also spreading it like with the decentralization of servers, it's also spreading out. So like that sense of common knowledge is actually surprisingly hard, even within like the Fediverse developer community itself. Like I'm trying to do it with like, hey, this is happening, like check out this cool project or whatever, but it's like it's still not fully there yet, and I'm not really sure how to get there at that point of like that there's again a sense of like a singular or like a coherent Fediverse kind of developer community at the very least.
But I think that again is one of the most powerful things about the Fediverse, and I've said this to other people, and I'm a Linux nerd, so I've seen this with Linux nerds where there's a new distribution every day or something, and everyone's like, why do we need another one? And my thought always is yay, another one to get to play with, because you have a different experience than I have, and you might bring something new while the rest of it might not live on. That innovation is what we need. You can't fix the problem. I can't fix the problem, right? But we can have these conversations, and maybe someone will hear us and be like, oh, I know how to do that or something. And that's what I love. And it doesn't depend on another bottom line to that. Like, is it adding X millions? Everyone laughs about Google's graveyard now. And Apple has a graveyard as well, but they don't really, they're not as public about it. Like a lot of stuff is behind closed doors, never makes it to the day. Whereas us, it's like, throw that shit out the window. Hey, look, there's, a piece in there that someone liked, and then they go on with it. And I really think that that's one of the most powerful things about this, is that we can truly be innovative, and it doesn't matter whether anyone else uses it. As long as I'm enjoying it and I'm using it, it's going to be there, right? And and I love that.
I I very much relate it, and I want the Fediverse to lean more into this aspect of like
Yes.
being like getting excited about like other people's projects and like being able to take like I think the Linux community in that sense actually figured it out better, like where it's easier to switch between distros, like it's easier
Yep.
to take parts and like reuse them.
Yep.
But like this is again like also the challenge with the Fediverse of like it doesn't have to be actually with ActivityPub, but like the way it actually is implemented is so server model dependent. Like I
Yeah.
already have like 25 accounts on 25 different Fediverse servers, and that's actually too many accounts. I will tell you that. Like, people should not have 25 accounts to like figure everything out.
Well, and we haven't even seen the final form, as you're saying. Like the
Yeah,
biggest thing I think of, I don't know if you know Usenet. You know Usenet?
I know Usenet. I've not
Okay.
like it's before my time. I haven't really actually used it.
So a lot of people think of Usenet now and they think, oh, I can get pirated videos. But that's not how it started out. It started out as like bulletin boards for people to talk about.
Yeah,
And
oh
then
yeah,
someone realized I can attach files using this protocol, right? We haven't even dreamed of what we can be using this for. You even mentioned yourself, like right now with ActivityPub, everything is server based. Owncast itself, it can't receive any messages via ActivityPub. It doesn't house any messages. It just
yeah, yeah,
sends out to the ActivityPub. So that's one instance where it's evolved past it or like
yeah,
tangentially, and we
yeah.
haven't seen all that we can do with this stuff yet. And I can imagine maybe someday someone has a device that instead of sending out an email or an alert to your whatever's connected, like you get it automatically over the ActivityPub. Like we've seen it
Yeah,
with
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
early Twitter. People were hooking up like a toilet, so whenever they flush the toilet, it tweets out to them or whatever. And you no longer have to depend on Twitter to do that. You can
Yeah,
make
yeah,
your own
yeah,
ActivityPub toilet
yeah,
flusher or whatever.
yeah.
ActivityPub over Bluetooth. No, but so, sorry,
Yeah.
I
I was gonna
feel
say like somebody actually built like ultimate like the exact same flusher one on Blue Sky as well. Like
did
I'm not
they?
not surprised like why don't we have a toilet flusher server on the Fediverse on ActivityPub as well?
Yeah.
Apparently people are very excited about toilet flushing and sharing that. Which, I don't know. Shout out to the people who do.
Well, and that's a good segue though. Is in the Fediverse report, you actually have I think three separate reports. You have the Fediverse
Yeah,
report, you have the atmosphere report, and then you have the blue sky report. Do you want to talk
right,
about um, first what do each of those focus on, and secondly, um, I want to dive into the blue sky stuff because
right. Yeah,
it's contentious, I guess you could say,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, it is, but it's also not. No, like I split it up. I originally actually like covered them together. That was like a year ago when Blue Sky was still significantly smaller. I like put up stuff like Blue Sky together in the Fediverse report. Then people like you said, it's contentious. People got annoyed. Blue Sky got bigger, so it's like I'm gonna split it up into like a Fediverse report and a Blue Sky report. And at this point, like I've been honestly, I'm still not sure if it makes sense to keep the yeah for the other listeners. The atmosphere refers to the entire network around Blue Sky. So what Mastodon is to the Fediverse is Blue Sky to the atmosphere,
Right.
basically. With Blue Sky being even bigger than Mastodon, like compared to the rest of the other projects on the AT Proton network, than Mastodon is to the Fediverse. But sometimes, like I've been experimenting with, like sometimes some weeks I go more on Blue Sky and then I write about like the social and the cultural side, so it's slightly more accessible. And sometimes I do the atmosphere report, and that's like on the people who are building like on the network on the AT Proton network. But that's pretty technical by and large. Like that's an activist hobbyist community who are like building their own stuff, which sort of gets outside of like the social and cultural challenges that Blue Sky have, which I also think is very important to have. So sometimes it's just like, yeah, let's focus on just cool tech stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'll keep it that way. Maybe I'll just go back to like just a single atmosphere report and to be figured out.
So so Atmosphere Report again is the AT protocol, which is what Blue
Yeah,
Sky talks on.
yeah.
Whereas on the Fediverse, what we colloquially will call the Fediverse, it actually runs on ActivityPub or AP. Do you have an AP report?
No, because like that is the Fediverse report for me. Like
Okay. Yeah, that
I
would be
it would be,
insanely
yeah,
technical, right? Like,
yeah. It would be interesting at some point, like see if it's worth like splitting out. Like Fediverse report is sometimes just more technical updates and more in like sometimes more like the cultural social updates. But it's trying to figure. I'm still in the process of figuring out what the best split is of like
sure.
what. Yeah.
So what is the reception to the Fediverse report been, but also what is the reception to Blue Sky being in there?
Fediverse report's been very good, like very positive, like feedback, and I'm surprised with how little pushback I get in general on like Fediverse stuff. Sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm writing about contentious stuff because like even on the Fediverse itself, like Fediverse has their own share of drama, to put it mildly,
Yeah,
and I do try to keep things fairly nuanced. Of like, hey, this is. I don't like to necessarily give my own opinion. I
sure.
like to like describe of like why things are happening,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a way that you get very like that leaves both good receptions and surprisingly little criticism, which is nice. And
Mm-hmm.
so far so really good. But yeah, the only time I actually get pushback is when I still get like the Blue Sky report in like the Blue Sky stuff in Fediverse report. Like there's definitely a smaller subset of people who is not a big fan of like all the Blue Sky stuff, who treats them with distrust and is like, oh, venture capital, blockchain bad, that sort of stuff. And I honestly think it's very funny. Like come at me, give me all the criticism. Like
Right.
I just it makes me laugh.
Well, and it's interesting because you're always in every kind of field, you have to draw a classification somewhere, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
there's always, whenever you get someone that knows specifically about a specific technology, it's always or tech, not necessarily technology, but a science. It's they'll always be like, well, yes, you're right, but technically no, and here's why. At least for
yeah.
laymen, Blue Sky, in my opinion, I'm not going to use Blue Sky.
Right, fair
If
enough.
if the network does show that it can grow and I can run my own, I still have some issues with it. But on the other hand, we can learn from them. There's lots that they do that we can learn from. And I am not a
Yeah,
fan of blockchain, but it's a tool. It doesn't need you to like it. It exists. And if we can find a way that can benefit everyone, then let's use it, right? Like it doesn't have to be all
absolutely.
this NFT garbage, right?
No.
There are valid use cases for these things. I don't have the answer.
Yeah. No, this is for me like a very specific reason of like I want to keep like the Fediverse report and the Blue Sky report. Like I want to keep them relatively close to each other. Like I in the end I write to help people understand of like what these networks actually are and how they function. And at this point in time and in the future, I'm strongly convinced that you can't understand one without the other. You have to
Yeah.
understand both. And
Well,
like, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, I see that as a win right there.
Yeah,
Is everyone has always talked about Twitter as Twitter or Facebook as Facebook, and everyone knows you have to exist in there in order to talk to someone else. Blue Sky just being a conversation on the table gives us another in where it's like, you know how Blue Sky connects to everyone else, and you can run your own Blue Sky. It's like, yeah, that's the Fediverse, but we're not backed by assholes. I mean,
yeah. No,
venture capitalists. Let's say it that way. Sorry.
fair. Yeah. I can see that.
But yeah, I'm very happy to hear that it's always been positive, because that's one of my biggest concerns and why I never really did anything like this, is because we've looked at the modern internet and we said that place is ugly. I'm not going to do that. But
Yeah.
and I'm assuming you're the same way, where it's been such an amazingly positive time that, while there is criticisms, at least for me, it's been pretty much all constructive. And at this point, it feels like you're on the right track. That when someone drives by and leaves a horrible comment, it's like, okay, well, there's nothing I could do for you, so I'll just dismiss it.
Yeah. I do. I am pretty aware that very clearly presenting as a white guy helps a lot on the Fediverse.
Oh yeah.
There's Fediverse is nice for me, and
that's a good point.
The Fediverse is definitely not a nice place for everybody, and that's definitely a big issue. And that's also the design of the network actually leans into it in the way that you don't always. It makes it very easy not to see all the bad shit.
Yeah,
and that's there's a lot of ways still to go.
Well, and I think that is an excellent point as well. I am a middle-aged white American male that can afford and has the time to run my own stuff. So no, that is very valid, and I would call on anyone seeing. I'm all for sitting down and talking to folks reasonably and respectfully, and I try never, even on the internet, to be total jerk. But yeah, if that's, and you're right, I don't see that. I am lucky in that aspect that I don't have to get that.
It's also the simple funny design choices of how the server model works. When you can just do the stuff of you take a hateful post and do it on send it to followers only, so it doesn't show up to other people. That sort of stuff of or for example, because Mastodon still hasn't figured out how to show all the replies to all the comments to a single post. That all that stuff also feeds into it of there's a lot of visibility issues with understanding actually what's going on for other perspectives.
Yeah, it's interesting. What where do you see the Fediverse report going? Do you think it's still going to look like this in a year or 2 years? Do you have designs and ideas of how to move it forward?
It's not going to be called like that because I'm in the process of launching a rebrand in the next few weeks, actually.
Nice.
Congrats. Thanks. It's a lot of work. It's also trying to it's challenging figure out of hey, what's actually going to be my business model, how to do it forward, what am I going to present myself, what's actually the strategy.
Yeah.
Not fully ready to talk about it yet. Still very much in the process of the details matter and they're challenging, but that's the first step. But I think in a medium-term future, it's going to be more focused on longer form analysis of hey, this is actually what's going on. Sorry. When I say this is actually what's going on, I did a pretty deep dive, for example, recently in what happened with Blue Sky, who responded to request of Turkish government to censor certain accounts.
I have that right here. Yeah.
Yeah. That's sort of an example of hey, we're now at the stage of both of these networks where they're big enough to get. It's going beyond just hobby. This is the real shit. This stuff matters. On a political level, obviously, but once you say it matters on a political level, it turns out it also very much matters on a technical level because what's happening below the surface of how this process of censorship actually Blue Sky complying with Turkey's government's request.
Yep.
How that actually happened is very different from what people would expect when they just hear Blue Sky censored Turkish dissidents, which is not necessarily wrong, but also it's actually a lot more complicated with new upsides and new downsides that you don't really expect if you don't know the details. And I really want to tell those stories of not just the headlines of like, oh, blue sky bad, but also like, okay, why did these actions happen, and what does it actually look like?
That'd be complex. That'd be very difficult, but that sounds fascinating. That's one of the things that I told people. So Stux, again, from mstdn.social, he had a request from Russia, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't have to abide by that, but he was concerned by like, well, is my hosting provider affected? And sure enough, they're like, no, we don't care. We just have to pass this on to you. And I mean, at the end of the day, there's always going to be someone or some entity that wants to enforce its will on you. If I run a platform in the United States, I am still subject to U.S. laws, right? But that doesn't mean you can't go somewhere else and spin up your instance or get help spinning up your instance or something and be able to get your message out there, regardless of what it is. I hope it's not violence, but that is the world we live in. And I think that's a massive advantage that we have on the Fediverse than a semi-centralized blue sky, and definitely not Twitter, right? Like Twitter, Facebook, they are going to protect themselves before they protect you or me.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like at the same time, like it's a version where Fediverse scales, like let's even just call it 10x, like not even like massive, but like blue sky size roughly. Like would Mastodon.social comply with a request if they're like from the Turkish government is like if you're not like if you get banned if you don't kick this account out? And I don't know the answer. And I actually also think it's very fascinating. Like, what would be the best, like, what actually is the ideal way forward for the Fediverse? Like, what would be the best case scenario? What do we actually want Mastodon.social in this case to say? Do we want to say them like, no, fuck you, Turkish governments? Would they want to say like, and like run the very real risk that like Mastodon.social, which are still like a significant number of people, Turkish people, going to be using that, and they're not going to be able to use that because then the Turkish government is going to say like, okay, buy Mastodon.social.
Well, the thing that I even think of, and I'm not going to call out any specific countries, but there are specific countries that attempt to shape the look of the internet. They specifically block out all kinds of stuff. What do you do with something like Mastodon? Because you can try and block Mastodon on social, but if you have another relay through it, it's like, I don't know if you know onion routing. Like a lot of countries that are very censored still have access to a layer called onion routing that they can get out. And Mastodon makes something like that easier. And I could see where specific countries that try to censor things will be very, I guess, aggressive is the word. So, and I mean, with Blue Sky, again, Blue Sky has a vested interest, right? They're going to protect themselves.
Yeah. Well, this actually also gets back to like why I want to write about both networks, because like they influence each other.
Yes.
Like because like it actually gets even more complicated than this. Because actually, what's happening, like how it works on Blue Sky, like okay, for the listeners, I need to explain a little bit of what actually what happened here. So Turkish government said, like, okay, you need to set to Blue Sky, you need to censor these accounts, like somewhere between 20 and 50. What Blue Sky has built up a system where they have geo moderators, moderation labelers. And that means that only if your IP address is in Turkey at that point in time, that geo moderation label will apply to your account. And that means like Turkey specific moderation from that specific country will only be applied and only if you're in that country. So only people in Turkey couldn't see those accounts anymore. Like those, if you were in the Netherlands or anywhere else in the world, actually, like you could see those accounts, which is like an interesting form of censorship, because like the large majority of people actually like use the Blue Sky client. So they would
Yeah.
log in with the Blue Sky client within Turkey, because like that's actually the part where it matters. It's nice that you can see these political protesters, the political accounts, that you can still see them in the US, but like their influence is in other people in Turkey being able to see them. So in that sense, like it's not censorship, but it's still very effective. And
Yeah.
that's sort of the point I try to make. Like this is a sort of for both sides of the for both the Turkish government and as well as Blue Sky, this is an acceptable outcome. Like it's not foolproof censorship, but like the impact is large enough that so the
Yeah.
Blue Sky say like we complied in the minimal version possible. Like it's only in
Yeah.
Turkey, it's nowhere else in the world. And Turkey can say like, okay, close enough. Like not perfect, but the impact
Yeah.
is for all people in Turkey to see it.
Well, and they can attempt to exert their will, but they have no legal standing, right? We've complied with the order. They are not silenced. They are silenced to
Yeah.
your legal boundary, and that's interesting. That'll be an interesting. That's I I think it's better than the outright banning of like you're gone, right? Because
Yeah.
those people are going to come back anyway, and I think they know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out on an actual geopolitical stage because
It is. Yeah.
that's
And
fascinating.
I'm gonna make it more complex for you because this is a like this is to me the part where it gets really interesting because like this is so far what Blue Sky and Turkey have done. But what how the AT Proto works and how this geo moderation works, they're part of the Blue Sky client app. So if you download the Blue Sky app on your phone, like this is what happens.
Hmm.
You can download other clients, like other, like I don't know, Deck.blue or whatever, and these geo moderation labelers do not apply. Like these geo moderation labelers
Oh,
are only part of what Blue Sky does for their own client, not what other third-party clients does. So we're now in a stage where these
oh,
third-party clients are like small enough that they pass through the radar. But like if you're in Turkey, you can just log in with the Blue client and you can still see these accounts. Because like the censorship happens actually on the client level,
ooh,
which is in itself absolutely fascinating. Because like Blue Sky still say like we complied with your order. We did like this is an open network. We can't control what other clients are doing. Go yell at other clients if like you have a problem with that. If Blue Sky grows, so this is the state as it is now. If Blue Sky, sorry, if Blue Sky gets more mainstream appeal and like other clients grow, like Blue, like at this point has thousands, 10,000s of users, like it's significantly smaller than the official Blue Sky clients by orders of magnitude. Assume that other clients grow. At some point, like the responsible government's going to switch from okay, this is acceptable, like censorship is never going to be 100% waterproof tight, but like 95% is fine. Like, but at some point, like if 50,000 Turkish people use Blue, Turkish government's going to say like, "Hello, Blue, go fix this stuff, or otherwise you're out of the
yeah.
app stores."
It's a whack-a-mole
It is a
situation.
whack-a-mole, and now we get to like how this actually also relates to back to the like why you can't see Fediverse and Blue Sky separately, because like Blue Sky is going to push like this direction of censorship of like how government influence on decentralized social networks. Blue Sky is going to very much push that in the client direction. What happens now if that if a new political dissident makes an account on Mastodon.social or Hecaderm.io, doesn't matter what client, like it's a server. Are we going to end up in a place where the governments also think like, screw talking to servers, we're going to talk to the clients because we're now at this point, we're used to talking to clients, like the app on your phone. Like, we're going to go to the official Mastodon app or IceCube or whatever, like, fix this because, like, apparently, what Blue Sky is actually saying, censorship should happen on a client level on decentralized network. Why doesn't that also go for the Fediverse? Like, why shouldn't like governments actually say to IceCube, like, okay, this is your app, your social media app, like, fix this. Otherwise, we're going to go to the Apple and Google app stores and say like, buy, like if you have not fixed, you can use your app to to read dissidents. So maybe we're getting to the point where service gets skipped altogether in this debate, and this is a very big question mark for me. I really don't know where that's going to end up.
That's a perfect example of, as you're saying, is how they all tie in together. Because I'm pretty sure Gargaron Eugen has hit that with the official Mastodon client, trying to get it up on the iOS or the Google store, one of the two, where they were denying him because they're like, well, you have this content. He's like, I don't have any content.
Yeah, absolutely. PeerTube has the same problem, actually. Like, they're trying to get the apps out. Like, they're launching now their mobile apps, and they have an approved server list, like, on the Apple app, of like, you can only log in with this approved server list. Like, if only these PeerTube servers you're allowed to have an account on. Otherwise, Apple is going to say, like, can't do this.
Willie, not only that, but the way I look at it is, as much as I'm not a huge fan of Epic Games, Tim Sweeney might have actually just significantly helped us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm very much not a big fan of like how the app stores, like, they're massive games. Yeah, because like at that point, like the next step in this battle is like, okay, we're all going to move to F-Droid, or like just distribute the APKs altogether. Like, directly. It's a very interesting cat and mouse battle at this point.
It really is. It's an arms race.
Yeah.
That's going to be really fascinating to see how that plays out. What is there anything coming to the Fediverse or even Blue Sky that you've kind of been watching that you're excited about for the future?
Ghost. I think
Ghost?
Like,
okay.
Yeah. I think in general, like, I've been surprised with like how underexplored like the space of like long form writing and like blogging actually is, like, on the Fediverse. It's like, it's just funny, right? Like, Fediverse, we talk about as a community of like an older generation that gets excited about like the return to the old internet. The part of the old internet is like blogging and RSS, and like ActivityPub in a lot of ways is like, I've seen people describe it as RSS, like social RSS, which I think is great. Like, I think that's a very helpful way of understanding of how ActivityPub actually works.
Yeah,
and like, but describing it as RSS. No, that's how many? RSS. S is hard to count. But like, once you frame it that way, like, it pushes it also in the direction of like, hey, why are we doing this in a microblogging way? Like, why are we not like building a whole lot of blogs, like, and connecting it that way? And like, I want to go back to that world, but we're not going back to that world. Like, we're always moving forward. And I think like Ghost is in that way a real example of like moving forward, of like, we mainly don't do blogging anymore. We mainly do newsletter writing now. And that's just like, we're all a Substack, and we can talk about Substack and why it's bad, yada yada. But like,
it's fascinating it's fascinating that newsletters have, because there used to be a time where newsletters were a big way. Yes, people did RSS, but you would have an RSS set up for those that wanted to do RSS, and you would blast out a newsletter. And I saw a couple years ago, I think it was Smarter Every Day, where they're like, hey, we're doing a letter now so that we can immediately come back to you. We can bypass the Google stuff and say, hey, we have a new video out. And it is fascinating to see that come back around. And I think Ghost is a beautiful platform that has seen what they could do with it, and they've taken ActivityPub. And that's the great thing, again, about ActivityPub. Anyone can integrate it with anything. If YouTube wanted to, you could get your stuff via ActivityPub, but they don't want to.
It's the beauty and it's the challenge, because like, if we want to get to the nitty gritty, like, I just really want like better display of like long form writing natively in Mastodon, and like, does the whole article, well, probably not the viewership. So let me explain. Like for ActivityPub, like you can send out anything over ActivityPub, but you have to classify of what it is. Like, is this an article? Is this like a video? Is this
Right.
whatever? It's mainly pretty much everything that we do on microblogging is in the category a note, and
Okay.
a note is like defined by Mastodon as mainly just a 500 character just text with like not a whole lot of ability for like markdown or like any fancy like display stuff. But you can though like why not make full articles with like images in the middle? Like you can totally send that out. Like you can totally do that. But the problem is if I have my Fediverse Report on WordPress. I've connected my WordPress with ActivityPub, which is awesome, by the way. We need to talk about that, but in a second. It's like I can send out. It's an article, right? Like there's potentially images in the middle. There's lots of embedded links. Like it's not a microblog. It's a blog. It's a full-on article. But if I send it out as a type article, Mastodon is going to say like, I don't know what an article is. I can only display this note, so like I'm not going to display this. So I'm like sort of forced by Mastodon to display it as a note, which I can do, and I do, and it works, but it doesn't work great. And this is actually why I gave the like Ghost builds cool stuff, awesome. Like, but this is the part of actually why I'm excited about Ghost is like they're a bigger organization like that has standing as a name, good reputation, yada yada, that can help like force this transition of like yell the Mastodon people that they are gonna need to actually support different types of content, like not just make everything into a microblog node, but like do native support for article. And like the Mastodon developers have said, like they're very clearly interested in this. Like there's finally a shift in the Mastodon leadership for that. But like organizing people on a decentralized network is hard, and like coordination is hard. So like it's going slowly. So, but this is definitely needed. Like, and actually very excited to me of like, hey, you can actually probably more exciting than the microblogging or the social networking part of like, hey, you can build an interconnected web of like blogs, articles, newsletters, all sort of stuff actually over activity. That makes a whole lot more sense to me.
So you literally see it sounds like you see a future where you open up your Fediverse client and literally everything that you could want is right there. Blogs, I mean, RSS is basically what it, as you said, RSS, your videos, your, chat to anyone else. Like that's what you see the future of it being, assuming that ActivityPub can expand and grow.
Yeah. And then not in a single feed, but split out into multiple feeds. Sometimes like you want to like browse through all the articles, or sometimes you just want to browse through all the hot takes, or sometimes you want to browse through videos.
I want to look at cat pictures right now, and it gives you all the cat pictures. If I want to switch over to doing some video stuff, or I've tried to figure out a way to tie it into video games before, but the only thing I can think of is like status post updates. I don't think ActivityPub is really there yet for something like that. But I know Matrix has tried to do stuff like chat, support chat. But
yeah. And that's also like there's potential to integrate like Matrix, like get better interoperability. Well, not interoperability per se because they're different protocols, but like get closer to connection between like your server that has like your ActivityPub account and your Matrix account. Like they could be much more similar, but like they aren't. And making that actually happen, like, well, they could be much more similar from a user-facing perspective. It makes sense to keep them relatively close to each other. But from a technical perspective, this is kind of just not going to happen.
That's and that's true. Slower turn-based game, chess.
Yeah,
you could literally do chess over ActivityPub. That would be amazing.
Somebody's built that actually a few years ago.
Have they?
Yeah, I think it's Castle Club.
And this is why I really appreciate the Fediverse Report, is because, and I was telling this to someone earlier about a project that they told me they led me to. It's like, I'm sorry, I've never heard of it. but we all have, there's so much energy,
Right.
so many people
Yeah,
making
yeah,
so many
yeah.
things. I'm so glad you exist, because it's like, here's a whole new list of things. And it's like,
Yeah, it just
it's
keeps on
so good. Yeah.
going, never ends.
I gotta look this up now. Sorry.
I
Activity
think it's called
Pub.
Castle Club.
Castle Club? Chester?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's already a few years old though, so I'm not actually sure if it's even online at this point.
Castling Club. There's the website. Asset on account. Simply reply with your move.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
so cool. I love that.
Yeah, just play chess over Activity Pub.
Someone as of 3 days ago was using this.
Right. Okay. Oh, still alive.
That is great.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful.
So now you
Sorry,
gotta
go
find one of your viewers to play chess with. I'm gonna be.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. I'm really not a chess player, actually, to be honest. But I'm sure you have viewers that like love to play chess.
I am a terrible chess player. I don't really play chess, but I have a friend that loves chess, but he doesn't want to get on the Fediverse. I'll bet I could be like, get on the Fediverse and I'll play chess via the Fediverse.
There you go. You found a way.
That's great. That is great. I love that. So what does success look like to you? And that success in the Fediverse report, that success for, a job that you have. What does success look like for you at this point?
Stable income where I can write like what I want to write, which is like the analysis part. Then I feel like successful, and just like just when I feel stable that I can write like It's like it's also just on a very fundamental, like a very deep level of like I just really care like this. I want to talk. I want to share those stories. So like that's just kind of all I want to do. Like share those stories because I think those stories matter.
And Laurens does not have a donation link set up yet, but as soon as you do, let me know and I'll connect it to the video and the podcast and all that. But everyone, make sure to follow Fediverse Report.
It's just going to be
in
pretty few weeks' time, actually.
Yeah. Because donations, as much as we would all love to do this for free, food costs, place to live costs. So we need to always make sure that we're sorry, I saw Elon Musk in the chat.
Hello.
But those donations matter. Pick one project a month or something like that really matters to you. Give $1, give $2. Like we look at these small amounts of money and we're like, oh well, that's not going to change anything. If we all did it,
it's also just a mental thing. It's a really nice gesture of like, hey, people read. It's like it's the motivation that keeps going. But it's also
all right.
It's good.
Well, we're I always shoot for an hour and it never lasts. It always goes over. So
I told you at the beginning, like just press buttons and I'll just keep talking about.
So I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Thank you. Yeah, sign up for the mailing list as well. Wonderful. So, but now for the real reason I asked Laurens here is to give them an opportunity to win a prize of a lifetime. The prize today is a 10,000 page report on 10,000 page reports. So
this is what I want.
Yeah. So I thought about getting you the Pulitzer Prize for excellence in Fediverse reporting, but as I was being escorted out by a guard for the Pulitzer Prize building, they said it didn't exist, which we all know they're lying because it's the Fediverse. It has to exist.
Obviously.
So are you ready for the quiz, Laurens?
Go for it.
All right. Favorite movie and why is it Spaceballs?
That's too American for me. I'll admit I don't know Spaceballs.
Oh, God, get off my show. No. What's your favorite movie then?
I'm going to go with Cloud Atlas, funnily enough.
Atlas?
I really like the book. It's by David Mitchell. I don't know the movie by whom it is, but it just made an impression on me, actually. It's like 6 different stories of like how life how people are connected like during different time periods. And
I've never seen that one.
yeah,
I was thinking it was something else, but no, I've never seen Cloud Atlas. Might have to
yeah,
check that
it's
out.
like, yeah, I'm gonna go with that one.
Okay, well, the chat says it was a good movie, so you must be right.
Thank you, Chad.
So since we're talking about the Fediverse report,
Yeah.
and there are ports in there, our next question is USB port, a Ruby port, or Rotterdam shipping port?
I live very close to Rotterdam, so this is
Do
a
you?
very easy answer. Yeah. I live in Gouda, actually, like next door, like the cheese city. But yeah, I feel connected with Rotterdam.
Okay, perfect.
Easy one.
Okay. Next question is stroopwafel. I'm going to butcher these, but
Oh, yeah, no, I like this. Good pronunciation. Go for it.
stroopwafel, bitterballen, or hagelslag?
Very much not. You did your homework. Nice. Hagelslag is bad. Dutch people should feel bad about hagelslag. It's a cultural denomination, but so not that one. And bitterballen are like amazing. Like
Are
you don't know what you're missing out. That's the ultimate beer food. Like
I've tried. We now have stroopwafels in the U.S. I've tried them.
Oh, nice.
I really enjoy them. But when I was looking through it, I saw it is toast with sprinkles on it. I'm like, what the hell is that? It's
yeah.
I was like,
this is how I grew up. Like, I don't know. There's something like when people make fun of like Dutch cuisine, like they're correct. Like they're very much correct. Like I actually grew up eating like just white sandwiches with butter and hagelslag. It's very sad, but yeah, we're not sophisticated culturally.
as us Americans with our deep fried Oreos.
Oh man, yeah, not bad. Like deep fried Oreos, like hell yeah. Like there's creativity in there. They're delicious.
My kids would love hagelslag, though it looks like that. No, I look at it now.
Sure, yeah, pure sugar. What's not to like?
Yeah. So, what does a alternative universe Laurens do?
Okay, crazy answer. Let's go for crazy answers. I would be a windmiller. Like, there's this a miller. Like, there's this windmill, like this old Dutch windmills, like very close to my door, and I can see him here, like right from my window, and they're awesome. And I actually looked into like taking a course as like learning like old school milling practice. Like they do offer that as a course, and I considered doing that. Because like sometimes you need to make weird life choices, but like, although I don't know,
what does an old school windmiller do?
When it comes to in an alternate universe, I would like to be a miller. That sounds fun. Why not?
What is it just to keep the windmills running, or do they actually mill something like grain?
Grain, they're or the water. You still also have the water windmills. They're like still around, or like all the jokes of like the Netherlands being below sea level is like very literally true. So like that's why you do have the windmills for that.
Well, and
mainly it's modern pumps, but some of the old school windmills are still in function. So why not?
I never even thought that they were. I figured at this point in time they were just to look at.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they're still up there, because like if you give them a use, it's a good reason to keep them around, but they're mainly around because they're tourist attractions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay. So I reached out to an alternate universe Laurens. I have a very special phone here. Don't ask. And he told me he actually works as a reporter. However, he misread the job and he thought he was a repossessor. So he keeps showing up at news sites expecting to repossess something, and there's nothing but news, so he just leaves. So
sounds about right. Sounds fun.
All right, a little bit different, and if you don't know what this is, that's fine. I don't know how common this is. Cilantro. Does it taste good, or does it taste like soap?
Oh no, it's good. I'm blessed with the non-genes.
Yeah,
Like,
me too.
those are genes for me. Yeah,
I didn't
yeah, no,
even know that was a thing until a couple of years ago because I've never
right?
had the
Yeah,
issue.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
then you suddenly meet people and they hate cilantro. It's like, what's wrong with you? And then it's like, yeah, your genes
right.
are what's wrong with you, apparently. Brutally
it
enough.
runs deep.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. No,
Yeah,
like it's actually a thing with like, yeah, your genes make it taste like soap.
yeah. I'm glad I don't have it because it's
Yep.
adds a nice crispy, refreshing flavor to things. So,
Mm.
and as usual, the last question is going to be sent to you telepathically. I will send it and then I will let you know that you've gotten it. Obviously, you'll know because we're telepathic, but for the audio only viewers, they won't be able to see my cue. So here comes the question. Are you ready? Okay. What's your answer to that telepathically sent question?
My answer is that this has been. I need to think of a funny story, and I can't think of a funny story. So I'm just gonna say that this is actually a lovely time talking to you.
Oh, well, thank you. That was a good answer. I like that. And
Yeah.
congratulations. You got every answer either correct or incorrect. Good job.
That's what I
And
live for.
I hate to say it, but I was because I knew you were going to win. I went ahead and I was going to send out the 10,000 page report on 10,000 page reports, but my kids got into it and they made them all into paper airplanes. But because they're paper airplanes,
actually,
what's that?
that's a lot of paper airplanes.
That is, and because they're airplanes, like we figured we'd just throw them to you over the ocean, but we found out that paper airplanes, it's too far of a trip, so they would need to refuel, mid flight. So they all fell into the ocean. So maybe they'll wash up on your shore. But I'll make sure to punish physics severely for ruining your prize.
I'll be standing on the shore. I'll keep a close watch. It's good to go to the beach.
But that's all the time we have for.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all the time we have for today at Fireside Fedi. Laurens, thank you so much for talking with me.
Yes, thanks for having me. It was great talking.
This is wonderful. Thank you for all of your amazing work.
Thank
Please
you
keep
for
it up.
building. Yeah, thanks for building community here, like with the Fediverse community,
Thank you.
enthusiast community. That's super important. Like we didn't get much into it, but yeah, I feel that it's very important to make other people aware of hey, there's other enthusiasts that they want to build the network that are not only developers.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. Like it's reassuring when you find other folks that are your excitement and your passion is palpable. Like you really give it off, and I absolutely love it. It's so good.
Thanks. Yeah,
thank you. And so everyone, never forget. Don't stop being compassionate, empathetic, understanding, and remember that love is the only way. Let's all try to be as welcoming as possible. Anyone looking for a new home on the social web, and let's talk to each other like neighbors and not like rivals. Let's try to get to understand everyone. We all have a place, we all have opinions, we all have experiences that shaped our current conversation. But also, most importantly, do not forget to donate to your admins, to your developers, to those that are creating very important reports on the Fediverse in order to make this the best place that we can possibly be. And thank you guys all so much. I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you all for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.